Hi, everybody. This is Joe Firestone for Empowering Democracy. And tonight we're continuing our discussion of How We Make It Happen, Part 6. I'm joined by Dolores Pierce.
Yes, I'm happy to be here.
Well, thank you, Dolores. Who is now from Brandy and D around the world, or I should say around the world with Brandy and D.
Yes.
Which is an intense news show that has been streaming roughly 5 times per week, isn't it?
We lately we've been doing that. We pretty much have certain days that we know we're definitely going to be going live, and then with the current world situation, there's just always something that has to be brought live. So
Okay,
we've been on a lot.
You generally go live at 8 p.m., right?
Yes.
Okay. So that's the time. Just before my show, okay, at 9. And I've been on a number of their shows thus far. I plan to be joining them also tomorrow night for a discussion of an article by Chris Hedges on the rise of fascism in Israel.
Yes, that's a great article.
Yeah, that's a great article. We're going to have a lot to talk about, about that. But for tonight, we're continuing our discussion of how can we make it happen. This is part 6 of how we can make it happen. What are we making happen? 2 things. But first of all, we're trying to create a movement to persuade people that to end these highly anti-democratic times, what we need to do is to remove the corruption from government. And we believe that the only way to do that is to make the money from the big donors a negative for candidates, to make the big money toxic for candidates. Now, how can that be done? We've concluded that it can be done by the people themselves if they will employ a litmus test. Specifically, the litmus test is if some candidate, whether incumbent or challenger, is taking big money from wealthy people, from large or wealthy corporations, large and or wealthy corporations, from PACs, from super PACs. Okay, technically we know that super PACs don't give money to candidates. Their expenditures supposedly are independent. Okay, but nevertheless, they may not give money, but they spend an awful lot of money in support of particular candidates. So in that sense, they are giving money. And then the fifth source of money which should be made absolutely poisonous to people, okay, is the money flowing from the major party committees. That money is used to launder financial support from all of the other sources. So, if a candidate is receiving any of those, okay, the litmus test is that the voter will vote against them. And we're trying to persuade people to do that in every case, at every level, okay, of government, federal, state, okay, and local. The same rule would apply. The public must disqualify a candidate for taking that money. So that's the first of our objectives. The second of our objectives actually arises out of the recent situation with the railroad strike and what the very progressive, supposedly incumbents, have been doing in voting to break the strike. We've become very much concerned with that, and it has given rise to a second objective. Okay, and that objective is to try to fragment the CPC and to get as many CPC members as we can get, to declare their independence from the Democratic Party and to create an independent bloc in Congress. So we have these two objectives, and for the last actually 5 parts, 5 streams, we've been discussing how can we make these things happen, and that's what we'll be discussing tonight as well. As of Friday night, we had arrived at the position that the best way to build a movement in order to persuade people to use the litmus test we've talked about is to try to generalize streams about dumping the corruption. That means first dumping the incumbents who are taking the big money, and secondly, dumping the challengers who are taking the big money. We've concluded that it's not enough for me to be doing it by myself, that we need to bring in other streamers. So our subject for tonight really comes down to, how do we get other streamers involved? How do we get them to commit to doing dump the corruption streams at least once a week?
That is difficult, but it can happen. The more we present the information ourselves, we write articles, we talk to other people, as it grows as kind of a movement, then everybody wants to talk about it.
Yes. Okay. I certainly think that's a good way to do it. It may be the only way to do it. Okay. Okay. I brought on for some of these discussions. I had a discussion, must have been 4 or 5 months ago, with the principals of the Punch Up Pod, specifically Lila Charles Lee and Pat the burner. Okay, and I asked them at that time to take this up. They appeared to have a great deal of enthusiasm for the topic, but through one thing and another, and the involvement in their shows of various things that are current, they've never really taken it up. But so Lila came on here, I believe it was in part 2 or part 3 of these conversations, and she had a very good conversation with us, okay, at that time, as a panelist. Okay, at present, it's doubtful she'll be coming on too frequently for this month because she's very much involved in family matters, okay, of various kinds. So she won't be involved with us. Okay, I'm planning to talk to Pat, the burner, and see if he will begin to take up the cause. Okay, but what I'm really after tonight is perhaps a list of streamers whose help we can get, okay, in this way. Okay, so, Dee, do you have any suggestions?
Well, we could talk to people with bigger audiences like Lee Camp, the Revolutionary Black Network.
Okay, specifically, we could talk to Sabby Sabs again. I had an interview with her also some 6 months ago. At that time, she was cool to the subject, but it is 6 months later. And once again, we've had big failures, okay, in the election when it came to, getting progressives in. We've had some successes too, certainly. We've had 5 or 6 of those, but we've also had some notable defeats with candidates who were strong, but who were not running campaigns based on but dump the incumbents. Okay, so maybe Sabby will think differently about that now.
Yeah, Garland Nixon is somebody that's good.
Garland Nixon, okay, is great.
It's a matter of reaching out to him and reaching out to different people. But I know there's just so much going on right now.
There's so much going on. The problem is, or the point is, that to persuade somebody, you have to persuade them to come to the realization that's the only way we're going to solve our problems is to get the toxic money out of politics. So, in a sense, that's the number one priority.
Right. And these people talk about it. You hear them talking about that, but really coming as a group, all of us, really putting out it as a message.
You do hear them talking about it, but you don't hear them doing shows about how we might get the toxic money out of politics.
Exactly. And that's what
They're talking about the problem all the time.
Exactly.
But they're not offering a solution.
Correct.
In particular, Brianna Joy Gray is always, she's always talking about the problem of donor money in politics in one form or another.
Right.
She sees the connection. It's very, very strong. She's constantly at, the issues of whether the people we think are progressives are really doing the job that we elected them to do.
Mm-hmm.
And she knows they're not because they're subject to the power structure in Congress, okay, the Democratic Party. She knows that, and she knows that power structure is totally bought by the big money. But I haven't seen anybody talk with her about what to do to get the big money out of politics. She doesn't spend any time talking about that.
And that's exactly what needs to be talked about. And
Okay. Also, Jimmy Dore,
has a
does,
big audience. Yes. And he talks, he doesn't actually put out the solution either.
he doesn't put out the solution either. No.
I think if we could get people together, if it agree on a particular day and time, and have a panel discussion on it, it's a matter of people actually coming to the panel discussions. You get these, other streamers. Um, if it's possible to get everybody together to talk about this issue.
So I think we have to face the fact that the streamers we're talking about are streamers who are important and whose audiences are large.
Yes.
Okay. And we'd love to generalize the idea to them. But from their point of view, why should they talk to us?
We're talking about the issue that they're bringing up all the time, the problems with money in politics, elections being bought, candidates being bought. Yes, everybody's aware of that. How do we tackle it? Is what you're bringing forth. How do we handle this? What's the solution?
So the question is, how do we get them to take a look at my solution?
Well, why don't you write up something, and then we'll send it to different people.
Who has contacts with whom? Okay, in other words, the real problem here is who among us has access to the streamers we've been talking about?
I know Brandy's closer to some of the streamers. I'm in the audience of some of these streamers that um, mention my name at least when I'm in the audience. Um, so if we send something to them that's written in a way that, with all the objectives there, and going from there.
That's okay. That's good. I
At
think
least a
that's fine.
starting point.
Yeah, I think that's a fine idea. But I bring us back to the question, who do we have access to? And if we don't have access, how can we get access?
I know when it comes to Jimmy Dore and his wife, I know Shane has spoken with Jimmy Dore's wife, and I know Brandy communicates a lot with the Revolutionary Black Network. And I think also we talked about Garland Nixon. I mean, I would send something to him. Um,
Yes, but do you know him?
I've been in his audience for a long time. My name is, at least he calls it out and recognizes that I've been there.
Okay, so you think you have access to him?
Yes, I think I could. He would know who I am.
Okay, so in other words, the way this might go is you could say, okay, our most serious problem, okay, in politics is, thanks, honey, the donor money. That money, okay, is toxic, okay, to all of us. What we need to do is to make the money toxic to the candidates so that if they take any of it, they cannot win. Okay, so what's the solution to this? Well, we can't pass a law that outlaws the donor money because the people taking the donor money are controlling Congress. We cannot pass a constitutional amendment because the people who start constitutional amendments are taking the donor money.
Right.
So it's necessary for people themselves to take this, okay, in our hands and make that donor money toxic to the candidates. Okay. So how do we do that? Okay, then we could say we've got some people who've been talking about that, and we think we have a solution. Uh, would you like to feature us on your show? Maybe
That
something like that.
that sounds great.
Have you ever seen though Garland Nixon have a panel discussion where he was moderating the panel discussion?
I've seen him having guests on his show.
Yeah, but he usually has only one or two guests. Like for
Right.
example, Scott Ritter.
Yes, every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday, Scott Ritter. Right.
Yes.
I've been watching those shows myself.
Yes. So, bringing it up to him, approaching him with a panel discussion, and see what he says, or see how he would like to do a show with this topic.
Does he follow you on Twitter?
I think he does.
And do you follow him on Twitter?
Yes, of course I do. Yes.
Okay. So the question is, can you DM him a suggestion like this?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm followed by Bree Joy Gray.
Right.
I follow her.
Right.
I've tried to DM her, but she doesn't answer. Based on what she said on one of her recent shows, the reason why is that she stopped accepting DMs from people.
She probably gets so many.
She got so many, of course, so she stopped accepting DMs. Okay, probably Jimmy Dore doesn't take DMs either.
We don't know that. We have to see how to reach. I know that uh, Jimmy Dore can be reached. I can't think of his wife's name offhand.
His wife's name is Stephanie Zamorano.
Yes, Stephanie. And she does respond, Stephanie. Um, I know Shane had said that Um,
Oh, yes, I know Shane had said that also. In fact, he's had an interview with her once or twice.
right. Well, talking to all the people we're familiar with and how to reach these other people, how to reach other people, and how to build it more, we should be able to come up with,
Okay, let's come up with some more names who might take on streaming activities.
Now, I don't know them, but I've watched their shows, been in their audience. Um, I don't agree with everything they say, but they are good on some topics. Is that Redacted Tonight with Clayton Morris and Natalie Morris, the husband and wife?
Yeah, I've seen them. They have sometimes they're very good. Sometimes they do very strange things, such as last night they were basically selling gold to people.
Right. Well, he is into investing and stuff like that. And so, yeah, that comes up. And there is some in Gold Company that has different streamers. I guess they get like an affiliate type of a percentage. Because there's others that every once in a while come up with that I've seen. So they get a percentage, I guess, for making the announcement and getting people.
But why would you suspect that they care about ending the influence of donor money in politics?
They've brought that up sometimes. They've said, that our government is bought, and how do we, how can we get in, make change or get people in when there's so many corporations behind the different candidates. So they've brought it up. So if I have something, that's they could type up and that's well presented, I'm sure they will respond
Hmm.
and see where they would go with it.
Okay, can you think of other names who might help?
I have to go on my phone here and see if I can find some names.
Yeah, one obvious name I think is Ryan Knight.
Yes.
I've tried to communicate with him in the past. Uh, that's been hard also. And those people whose followings are large, okay, are hard to reach.
Yes.
Okay, and that's the problem. We need to reach them to make this visible. Okay, so we have to be selective in terms of who we try to reach.
Yes.
Okay, I also thought of the Vanguard.
Okay.
Have you seen any of their stuff?
Not in a while.
They've given visibility to the Red Berets.
Okay. And I guess Jen with generational change. I haven't
Gen-
watched that. Jen.
Generation. Yes, I know. I know Jen.
Yeah. Maybe just reaching out to people and
I think Jen might be somebody to reach out to. Either Jen or Peter, okay, or both. They might be good to reach out to because I'm pretty sure She's very concerned about the influence of donor money in politics.
Yes, and Florida is quite psychotic.
Huh? I'm sorry.
Florida's quite psychotic in the political stream. They really need change.
Okay, I'll bet you Katie Halper,
Yes,
okay, and Aaron Mate may be more open than most.
yes. Excuse me, that's my dog snoring if you heard
Yes, I did hear that, and I figured it was your dog snorting.
that.
Okay, let's shift to the second topic. Do you have any ideas on how we can break up, how we can persuade some of the members of the CPC to declare their independence from the Democratic Party?
Pressure. Pressure is the only way if they see outside pressure. We get enough people streaming and talking about it, talking about the money in politics, getting money and not, voting for candidates that are taking big money. If they feel pressure, because going independent, sometimes there's a lot of negativity around that from
Yeah, there's a
within,
lot
even though they're going
of
out.
negativity about it, but it's worked fine, and there'll be a lot more negativity now because Kirsten Sinema just decided to do that.
Right. So she just said independent. She didn't say what particular party, so she pretty much just says independent. And I think,
Right, and Bernie Sanders, of course, he's the older example. He decided to run as an independent, and he's always run as an independent.
right. And they can't put a Dem out there going against him is going to get nowhere.
Well,
So,
right now, but the point is, the squad, for example, their members are pretty popular in their districts. Some are weaker than others, but for example, Rashida is very strong in her district, I think.
right. So the people would follow her even going independent. They would follow her because, the Democrats, if she's listed as independent, then during primary season, they're going to put somebody up there as the Dem.
Yes, and the same is true of AOC.
Correct.
Okay, she could probably run as an independent and still win in that particular district.
It would be better for them to be independent.
It it would be better for them to be independent because they could have a lot more influence on the party,
Yes.
okay, as independents.
Because it seems very stressful for them being in the party because you can see the stress. I mean, AOC's, I've seen that, the stress on her from Nancy Pelosi at times.
Yes, at times, like that time when she coerced AOC to change her vote, okay, on a particular issue, and where their conversation on the floor with AOC crying.
Yeah, so you don't know what Nancy Pelosi said to her.
Yes, and we'll probably never know what Nancy Pelosi said to her.
Yeah, but it was vicious enough.
Well,
It's politics, right? And Nancy's been around a long time. But that's it. I'm glad Nancy's going to be leaving. Oh.
Oh, of course. Yeah, we're all very glad that she's leaving. Okay, but Hakeem Jeffries is going to be awfully vicious too.
So it's better for them to go independent because, like you said, they've got their support. The people are going to vote for them as independents.
Yes, it's better for them to constitute an independent voting bloc
Right.
of themselves in Congress and not call themselves a party, but still, an independent group of people who support the Democrats are going to need in order to get anything done.
Right.
That would be advantageous to them.
Yes, and it is a better position for them to be in.
So I suppose we could start by doing streams which outline the case for them declaring their independence
Yes, that would be great.
and see if those streams actually catch on.
Because, like I look at foreign policy, we talk about, and, they want these like candidates to represent certain places, and this is our friend, this is not. Don't ever say a word about this country. You have to represent this particular country. So, as an independent, they have the freedom to say and present their case as to why they see the issue in a particular way.
Yes. Okay, let's see if we have some comments that give
Yes.
us suggestions about how do we proceed on this. Okay. Yeah, CC Swift has joined at some point. So
Yes,
here's
this is great.
Brandy. She's here. Steve Day is here. Kay, of course, is here. Hi, Kay. Kay says big money needs to go. And you're in the comments too, D.
It was on Facebook where I shared you. I said hi.
CC Swift says Nixon won't even help, okay, with MMT. Well, that may be, but this may make more sense to him, than MMT. If he's concerned about the influence of donor money in politics, if that's one of his things, and if somebody came to him with a solution or a proposed solution, he might be interested in hearing about it, if only to debunk the solution. Cece says, meaning getting the word, the taxes don't fund spending on the federal level.
It's been a long battle with trying to talking about the federal level, let taxes don't fund spending. And for years and years and years, we've been talking about this. And so many people have told a congressperson to read Stephanie Kelton's book. And, and I know that Steve Grumbine used to have different people on his show all the time. You've had people on your show, and we've presented MMT. Yeah, Savage Joy when she used to be with Real Progressives back then, and she would have them on and sometimes talk about MMT. So it's a long battle.
That is a long battle, but this battle has to be a short battle or we're going nowhere.
Exactly. I mean, it is important. I would love for them to recognize, but I think they're afraid to say anything out loud for some reason when it comes to MMT. You would think when there was the situation with COVID and we saw money being appropriated for things, you'd think it would have woken up some people. But I just think that maybe where Congress is concerned, I mean, they should know how things are done, but they just
We've been making, I think, a fair amount of progress, okay, in Congress when it comes to the MMT thing.
right.
Okay, there are still battles back and forth, but I'm getting the feeling that lately it's been kind of an equal contest that, even though Larry Summers still gets his point of view in, and even though he does damage, uh, there's definitely a contest with the austerity people going on now. And the MMT economists definitely have weight in those debates at this point that they didn't have before. Okay, but this is a different issue.
Right.
Okay, it's not one that is necessarily conceptually difficult for people to accept, because what we're saying basically is that, well, here's a litmus test. If everybody applies this litmus test, then uh, within one election cycle, we're going to change the House.
Exactly. So it's a shorter timeline than like the long buildup when it comes to economics and economic philosophy and trying to tell them the truth and speak the truth. You know,
If somebody were to pick up this, okay, or if a whole bunch of us were to pick up this and start to frequently talking about it and saying that it has to be done, okay, it could have more than the kind of influence that Force the Vote had for a short time.
right. And then if we write articles, like Medium or whatever, wherever you share your written articles to write something up.
Yeah, I can easily put articles on my website.
Right.
That's very easy. Okay, Brandy says, I'm sorry, CC Swift says same. I think Tim Black does the same, I see. Brandy Weaver says, I can send out some messages Wednesday.
Great.
Yeah, that is great, but to whom, Brandy? Okay, in other words, you're pretty much going to have to say that we have the solution to the donor problem. Okay, or maybe we don't have the solution, but if people give us a chance to present our solution, then perhaps they'll agree that it is the solution.
Right.
Okay, it's a matter of getting a hearing. At least at first. And after that, it's a matter of getting people to take it up. C.C.
Right.
Swift says, in my opinion, the better known so called progressives are trying to break into a elitist land, the mainstream, okay, of elitist land. Yeah, they are trying to break into it, but they're trying to break into it, and in some cases, still present their point of view. But certainly, Brianna Joy Gray is doing that. I mean, she's not compromising on what she believes. Brandy says, through Jimmy and Warren. Well, I'd be happy if Jimmy and Warren were to take this up. I'll be happy to share my documents with them. Cece says, I won't dissuade you to try. I just stopped following them years ago when I saw how they are. And Brandy says he has been on RBN. He being me? I don't think I've been on RBN. Oh, Brandy says he is banned from Twitter and Facebook. Yes, Garland Nixon has been banned from Twitter, okay, and Facebook. But he still has a very big audience himself, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, he does.
His YouTube audience, okay, is very big. And I think he also still works for RT as well. I think he has a lot of contacts. Yeah, Jen Perelman. Yes. I think it's actually Perelman, isn't it? Perel. MN. Some of the other Red Berets may have access. I think among the Red Berets, the one who has the most access uh, is Laura Fielding. She has the one. She's the one with the most followers on Twitter. Also, I think she has something like 27K followers. Uh, yeah, she has access. I definitely can ask her
Uh-huh.
if she can get me an interview. Let's say from the Vanguard, she might be able to do that. CC Swift says, but Tim Canova. Okay, I think Tim has got troubles now on the left that somehow, I'm not sure why or exactly why, but I think he's on the outs with many people right now. And I don't think he's streaming himself either. I think he's gone back to being an academic, licking his wounds and trying to recover financially, because I think he threw a lot of his financial wherewithal into those two campaigns. Jen is vote blue no matter who. If you're talking about Perlman, she's problematic. She may be vote blue no matter who, but uh, if you want to talk about the influence of money in politics, she certainly wants to get rid of that because it was certainly the money that beat her. I think she'd probably love to get rid of the influence of money in politics. I also bet she thinks that money is toxic, Brandy. Cece says, I love how Bernie jumped down Cinema's throat. Yeah, sometimes Bernie does things very, very well. Kay says, yes, Cece. And Cece says, TikToks are a good way to spread a message. Someone that likes being on camera could do a TikTok. I like being on camera.
Yeah, TikTok is a good way to send a message. I haven't sent one, but it is a good way.
Okay, it's a good way to send a short message, right? D, you're muted.
Yes, I had to mute myself. I was coughing here.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it's a good way to send a short message, right?
Yes.
So if I could do a 5-minute TikTok, that might help.
Yes. Yeah, people like to hear something quick.
I could also do a 5-minute Twitter stream.
Yes.
What would be more influential?
I think TikTok's just growing more.
Of course, we could do both. We could do it on TikTok
And
and we could
both,
do
yeah.
it on Twitter. Kay says she likes Jen Perelman. Brandy says message on Holy. Brandy says she likes Garland. So do I. I like Garland very much. I love his foreign policy stuff. I'm actually a big Garland fan.
Yes, me too.
He has a gift for in common sense terms. Cece says if we could reach Nina with the dump the corruption gospel, she'd be the firebrand for the message, since that's precisely what screwed her. Royal. I think it's probably Royal E. C. Swift, but CC, but that's what, yeah. She also got into it with RBN. Oh, I didn't see that. TikToks involve much younger audiences. Oh, good to know. There's nothing wrong with starting something off with younger audiences, though, is there, CC? Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Okay, let's get back to the second topic, which is how to get some of the progressives from the CPC to declare independence. If we could outline all the pros that would come from that and all the cons that would come from that, then I suppose the question would be how would we get their attention? How could we make the case in such a way to get the attention of the Congress people that we want to take it up? Stacey says TikToks involve more younger audiences. Yes, thank you. Read that before. And Brandy says she, referring, I think, to Jen Perelman. And Brandy says she is not well liked on the left. And Brandy says she's G Hive. Please clue me in on what G Hive is, because I have to admit that I've seen the expression before, but I'm not sure what it means. So if you could clarify it for me, Brandy, I'd be very grateful. Oh, yes, I agree with you. Jen is not well liked on the left because I think she's seen as too centrist.
And she's in Florida too. So Florida's very much to the right.
Yeah, but I'm not sure that she's so centrist when it comes to policy. I mean, I think she is Green New Deal and Medicare for all.
And that alone is considered, extreme left for Florida.
Yes, extreme left in Florida. But I think what Brandy is saying is that uh, Jen, not long ago, had a run in with the RBN people. Okay. And I think the run in was about really her lack of consciousness with respect to the problems that Black people face.
Okay.
It was something like that. And then there was a complete fallout on her program. Brandy says U.S. tankies.
Oh, us tankies that are leftist.
Okay, us tankies that are leftist. Okay, if you could clarify me what tankies mean, I'd be grateful for that too.
Commies.
Oh yeah, I think you explained that before. I still don't see the connection between being a commie and being a tanky, but that's all right. So Cora Manuel is here, and he says, "Hello, folks. Hello, Cora. Thank you for coming."
Welcome.
Uh, but where's Greg, Cora? Okay. Anyway, thank you for explaining what tankies means, Steve. I appreciate that. Us tankies that are leftist.
Yeah, Brandy says commies and anarchist.
Oh, commies and anarchists both. Yeah, I see. Thank you for the
And I
clarification.
think it started by um, people referring to them in that way, and they just took it off, and took off with it, and called themselves tankies.
But where does tankies come from? In other words, what's the logic behind?
I don't know what the logic is, but I think they were just turning it around and using it.
Uh, Everybody calls everybody else names.
Yes.
We would do better without the names, just talking specifics.
Yes.
We would communicate better. Brandy says, yes, D.
Well, it's good when people do that, when they take something that's thrown at them and someone means to throw it at them, say in a negative sense, and you turn it around as a group and make a positive with it and use it like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I know that's good. So being a tanky is positive.
Yes.
Okay,
It was meant otherwise, but it's been turned around.
good.
So, people have nothing to do all day than to say negative things or try to say negative things about other people instead of talking about issues and policy, but it
Okay,
is what it is, I guess.
so again, what is G Hive?
I don't know. I don't know that one.
She's G Hive.
Let me see if I can look that up.
Yeah, let me see if I can look that up too.
Yeah, Brain just says they tried to use it as an insult, but we claimed it, which is great.
No names are necessary because the establishment don't know what the hell is being going on, especially since fascism is taking hold. Yeah, CC, I think that's what's been going on.
Okay, I don't know if I really want to read. It
Brandy,
has there's the Urban Dictionary with GI.
okay, Brandy says for us to look it up on Twitter. Okay,
Right.
we will. Thank you, Brandy. Okay, I think our conversation is about done for tonight then.
Yes. It's
Okay,
important to talk about this, and I'm glad you keep talking about it, Joe.
I'm going to keep talking about it. I'm going to keep on doing these conversations until we get something really concrete to do. There are useful things that come out of it. Okay, for example, I think it wouldn't hurt to do an article about it. Some document we could refer to.
Yes. And then we could share it around, and talk to people about it more.
Yes, that would be good. Brandy Weaver says Jeff Campbell followers. Okay, Jeff Campbell followers. So G Hive, Jeff Campbell followers. Okay.
The Urban Dictionary has a definition, but I wouldn't read that here.
Really? Why? What's wrong with it?
Look it up for yourself, Joe. Then you can see why I'm not going to read it out loud here.
Okay, that's cool. Okay, so let's say goodnight for tonight.
Okay.
And I guess I'll be doing part 7 tomorrow.
Yes, and before that, you'll be live with Brandy and D. Well, around the world with Brandy and D
Right. Okay.
at 8
Around the
p.m.
world, yes. Around the world with Brandy and D. I'll be there especially to talk about the Chris Hedges piece,
Yes, it's a great.
Rise of
It's a good one.
Fascism in Israel.
Yes.
The tanks also refer to Russian military tanks used to defend or invade countries in the Soviet bloc, also in Tiananmen Square. Oh, I see. So, in other words, at first it had a negative connotation, okay, because the communists would use tanks, the communist nations would use tanks quite effectively. And, okay, then the lefties claim that for themselves. I see. C.C. Swift mentions gynecological discharge.
Yeah, that's G Hive.
Yeah, God, discharge. Oh, God. So Brandy says, now I have to look it up, laugh out loud.
Yeah.
That was funny. Okay, thanks for coming on, Dee.
You're welcome. I enjoy coming on to your shows.
Oh, thank you. And then
Be
you can
happy
come
to.
on to all my shows if you want to.
Sure. Why not?
Okay, I'll be leaving the links in comment chat anyway. So,
Okay, that's great.
okay, thanks, Dee.
You're welcome, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, bye.